Welcome to Neural Nexus Podcast, where we explore the hottest topics shaping the world. Let's dive in.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Bennifer.
Ooh.
But not the fairy tale ending we were all hoping for.
Right.
We're taking a look at their divorce, which was actually finalized just last week on January 7th.
Wow.
So are you ready to unpack all of this with me?
Absolutely. It's a story with so many layers.
Yeah.
You know, love and fame and second chances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to be looking at Jennifer Lopez's divorce filing, which was from last August. And this was obtained by Harper's Bazaar. And I think we should start with the timing of it all.
Okay.
They filed for divorce on their second anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So what do you make of that?
Well, it's certainly unusual.
Yeah.
You know, it does make you think, like, was that a deliberate choice?
Right.
Was there some, need for closure on that specific date?
Yeah.
You know, almost like marking the end of a chapter in a very definitive way.
It's definitely not just a random Tuesday in August.
Right.
And speaking of things that make you go, the reason for the divorce that's given to the filing is irreconcilable differences, which is, pretty standard.
It is.
But I feel like with celebrity couples, what's left unsaid is always the most intriguing part.
Oh, absolutely. Irreconcilable differences can mean so many things. It could be lifestyle clashes. It could be fundamental disagreements about, their future. And with a couple like this, who's constantly in the public eye, that pressure has got to be immense.
Totally.
Yeah.
So speaking of the filing, what else did Harper's Bazaar reveal?
Well, in terms of the settlement, they're keeping things pretty straightforward. No spousal support, and they're both going to retain whatever assets and things that they brought into the marriage.
Okay.
Makes sense considering, their individual wealth. But
Yeah.
then there's that $68 million Los Angeles mansion that they bought together.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Right.
$68 million.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective.
For sure.
Like, wow.
It reminds me that their world is just so different from ours.
Absolutely.
So they're selling that house.
Yeah, that's the plan, although it's still in the market right now.
Yeah.
But, selling a shared home like that is often a very symbolic act.
Right.
Signifying a clear break. And especially in this case, when you think about it, the house was bought during their second attempt at a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's really like closing the door on that chapter of their lives.
It seems like they're not just closing the door on the house.
Right.
Jennifer specifically requested to legally change her name back to Jennifer Lopez.
Interesting.
So no more Jennifer Affleck.
Yeah, that's a powerful statement. It really suggests a desire to reclaim her individual identity, to separate from that whole Bennifer persona.
Right.
It's like a return to her roots in a way.
So I think to understand this a little bit better, let's take a step back and kind of retrace the entire Bennifer saga, because it's been going on for quite a while now.
Okay.
They first met way back in 2001
Wow.
on the set of the movie Giggly.
A film that is perhaps more famous for their off-screen romance than its actual plot.
That's putting it mildly. But back then, they were like the original Bennifer.
Right.
It was a complete media sensation.
Right.
They got engaged in 2002, but then called it off in 2004. And then fast forward almost 20 years to 2021, they rekindle their romance.
Wow.
It was a Vegas elopement in July 2022, followed by this lavish ceremony like a month later.
Yeah.
It seemed like a real Hollywood fairy tale.
It really did. And that makes it even more surprising how quickly things unraveled after their second marriage.
Right.
What factors could have possibly led to such a rapid, decline in this second attempt at marriage?
Yeah, it seemed like they were going all in.
Right.
But clearly something wasn't working.
What's so interesting to me is that this wasn't an impulsive on-again, off-again thing.
Right.
There were years between their breakup and their reunion.
So many years.
Yeah. What changed in that time? Did they really address those underlying issues that caused them to split up the first time?
It makes you wonder.
It does.
These are questions we may never know the answer to,
Probably not.
but they definitely give us a lot to think about.
They do.
I feel like maybe we as like the public kind of projected our own hopes and dreams for like a second chance onto them.
Oh, for sure.
Like this idea that love conquers all, even time and all of the mistakes.
It's such a human impulse, isn't it? We love a good comeback story, especially when it comes to romance. And I think with
Yeah.
Bennifer, there's that added layer of nostalgia.
Yeah.
They represent like this specific era of pop culture
Right.
where celebrity couples were all about like glamour and excess.
Yes, exactly. It was like peak tabloid culture,
Yeah.
red carpets, paparazzi chases.
Totally.
But amidst all of that, their romance felt, or at least it was portrayed as very genuine.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes this story so captivating, this blend of fantasy and reality. You
Yeah.
know, we see these like incredibly successful, attractive people living these lives that we could only dream of, but then they're also dealing with the same human experiences.
Right.
Love, heartbreak, you know, just that search for connection.
I think the timing of their reunion is also really interesting.
Okay.
Like, it was 2021, the world was still kind of reeling from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Everyone was craving a sense of hope, normalcy,
Right.
and then bam, Bennifer's back.
It was like a collective sigh of relief.
Exactly. It felt like a return to simpler times.
I think you're right. You know, their reunion tapped into this need for comfort and familiarity.
Yeah.
And it gave everyone this distraction from all the anxieties of that moment. And it was a reminder that even in the middle of all the chaos, love can prevail.
But as we see, love doesn't always conquer all.
It doesn't.
And maybe that's okay.
Right.
Maybe it's more about learning and growing from these experiences.
I agree. The Bennifer saga, with all its twists and turns, offers such a valuable opportunity to reflect.
Yeah.
It really makes us examine our own beliefs about love relationships and the role that fame and the media play in shaping our perceptions.
And speaking of the media, we can't ignore the impact that social media has had on this whole story.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a completely different landscape than it was during their first romance. Back then, it was all about magazines and gossip shows.
Totally.
Now it's like instant updates, fan accounts, constant commentary. It's like a whole other level of scrutiny.
It is.
Yeah.
And it raises these important questions about privacy and boundaries and, you know, the ethics of celebrity culture.
Right?
Like, how much access should we, the public, have to the lives of these individuals?
Absolutely.
And what responsibility do we have to respect their privacy and their boundaries?
Especially when you consider their kids.
Oh, of course.
It's just like a whole other layer of sensitivity.
Right.
And it's so easy to forget that they are real people.
They are.
With real lives and families.
It's not just a Hollywood fairy tale.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see a shift in the way that celebrities navigate this space.
Yeah.
They're becoming more vocal about setting boundaries and pushing back against these invasive media practices.
Absolutely.
And they're prioritizing their mental health and well-being.
Which is so important.
And you know what else I think is really interesting about the Bennifer saga?
What's-
It's not just about their relationship. It's also about their individual journeys of, like, self-discovery and reinvention.
I see what you mean.
Especially Jennifer. She's undergone such an incredible transformation
She has.
over the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, she's gone from pop star to actress to businesswoman to global icon.
It's true.
And she's maintained this amazing sense of authenticity and resilience.
She is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And I think her story really resonates with so many people, especially women,
I agree.
who are trying to figure out their own paths to success and fulfillment. She embodies the spirit of independence and ambition and self-love.
Totally.
Mhm.
And Ben has also had his own ups and downs,
Of course.
both professionally and personally.
Yeah,
He's been so open about his struggles with addiction and mental health.
he has.
And I think that vulnerability has made him even more relatable to people.
Right.
It's like we've all witnessed his growth and evolution as a person.
And that's so powerful to see.
It is. It reminds us that even those people who seem to have it all still face real challenges and setbacks.
They do.
And it's inspiring to see them come out on the other side stronger and more self-aware.
I agree. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, what does the future hold for Bennifer?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, I have a feeling we haven't seen the last chapter of Bennifer.
I don't think so either.
They're both such dynamic people and talented.
Right.
I can't imagine them just fading into the background anytime soon.
No way, Jennifer's career is still going strong.
Yeah.
And Ben is doing some really interesting things behind the camera.
And who knows, maybe this whole experience will inspire them creatively. I mean, we've seen so many artists channel their personal struggles into their work.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see this divorce reflected in their future projects.
That would be fascinating to see.
It really would. It could add like a whole new layer of depth and meaning to their art.
Absolutely.
So if we take a step back and look at like the big picture here, what does the Bennifer saga tell us about love and fame and second chances in, this modern age?
It's a really complex question with no easy answers. On the one hand, their story kind of reinforces this idea that even with all the wealth and success in the world, finding lasting love is still really hard.
Yeah.
You know, the pressures of fame, the constant scrutiny, the blurring of public and private boundaries.
There's a lot.
It is. All these obstacles can strain even the strongest of relationships.
It's like the fairy tale is constantly being challenged by like the reality of their lives.
Exactly. And yet there's still something about their story that keeps us all so hooked.
Totally.
Maybe it's the hope that they'll actually defy the odds.
Mhm.
Or maybe it's that reminder that even with all the chaos of fame, they're still human.
Yeah.
They're still searching for connection and happiness just like the rest of us.
And maybe that's like the biggest takeaway from all of this.
What do you mean?
It doesn't matter if we're talking about celebrities or everyday people.
Okay.
Love and relationships are messy and unpredictable. They rarely fit into that perfect fairy tale narrative.
Sure.
But that doesn't make them any less meaningful.
No, it doesn't.
Mm.
The Bennifer saga reminds us that life is a journey.
It is.
Full of twists and turns.
Right.
And sometimes the most valuable lessons are the ones that come from the heartbreaks and the setbacks.
Yeah.
The moments that challenge our beliefs and force us to grow.
Well, this has been such a fascinating deep dive
It has.
into the world of Bennifer and all its complexities.
Definitely.
We've talked about their divorce.
Yeah.
We went all the way back to the beginning of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we even explored like the broader cultural impact of their story.
We did.
And as always, we want you to continue this conversation.
Please do.
What are your thoughts on Bennifer?
Let us know.
What resonates with you the most from their story?
We would love to hear your insights.
So until next time, keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep those deep dives going.